everybody, welcome to Life with Annie. So I'm getting ready to make a squash dish real quick for our dinner. It's actually Sunday that I'm making this meal, but I'm not sure when y'all are going to see the actual video. But when I was a kid, you know, Mama used to make a squash casserole, and I asked her, I said, Mama, how did you make your squash casserole? I thought I could remember most of it, but not all of it, and she really couldn't remember everything, so, because she hasn't made it in quite a while. So, I went on Pinterest looking at squash casseroles, and this one kind of popped out, so I thought, well, I kind of sort of know how Mama made hers, but I want to try to make other versions and see which ones we like. So I'm going to make this one, and it calls for 3 pounds of yellow squash, sliced or diced. And so I washed all my squash up, so I'm just going to slice it. Now I think this person that posted this, her name is Sherry Jackson. Actually, it's called Slap Your Mama, It's So Delicious, Southern Squash Casserole. Slap Your Mama, It's So Delicious, Southern Squash Casserole by Sherry Jackson, or it was added by Sherry Jackson. And so I thought, well, if it's got a title like that, we just have to try it. So we're gonna do that. Now, I think she said that she liked her pieces in a more of a dice because they cooked softer. Let me see if y'all can see. So I'm just gonna kind of cut them up a little bit smaller. And I don't even know if I have 3 pounds of squash here. We just grabbed some squash at the store the other day, and so I hadn't used them yet, so we're gonna go ahead and get them taken care of. So it is so hot here today, y'all. I mean, so hot. Oh, goodness. I'm not even outside, and it just, So, what are y'all cooking? I know it's Sunday here still, but I probably won't get this posted until later in the week. So, I'm going to finish dicing up these squash, and then I'll take y'all over next to the stove and we will finish up this casserole. And hopefully, I wouldn't slap my mama, but I hope it's as good as that. So we'll be right back after a while. Okay, y'all, I got them all cut up. So let's head over to the stove and finish this up. Okay, let's get the rest of this squash casserole complete. So I've got all my squash diced up here, and then it says in another bowl we need to add 1 can. This was an odd ingredient for me, a can of cream of mushroom soup. We never put that in ours, so this was kind of a different, and you know, the next ingredient's kind of weird for me too, but I thought I'm going to try it. So I'm going to put in this 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. Okay, get all of that out. And then the next ingredient is 1 cup of mayonnaise. Now I'm using Duke's mayonnaise, but whatever mayonnaise you like, I guess, you can add that to it. Okay. All right, so we've got our mayonnaise, we've got our cream of mushroom. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of stir that around just a little bit, get it all mixed. And then it said to add 1 egg. our 1 egg in there. And it's a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. Put that in there. All right, we'll just give this a stir. Let me see if y'all can see here. The camera's reversed. So we never made our squash casserole with any kind of soup or mayonnaise. If I remember correctly, and I'm pretty close, Mama and my grandmother always made it. They would cut up the squash and they would cut up onion, which I'm going to add a half of it says to use a Vidalia onion, and I just happen to have Vidalia. I started to use one of Matt's homegrown onions. I think they're Walla Walla, but I already had some onion cut up that I needed to go ahead and use first, so I just cut it into smaller pieces. And so we've got that mixed up in here. But the way I remember, the best I can remember, is Mama and my grandmother both, they would cut their squash up, they would cut their onion up, they would put it in a saucepan, and they would boil it with some water and cook it like that on the stove top. And then, they would season it up with salt and pepper and everything after it was done. And then they put some cheese and crackers on it. So, and it was good. But I've never made one like this. So I thought it would be interesting to try it. Okay, so we've got, let me give you the right, and I've got to add some cheese here too in just a second. So it's 3 pounds of squash, a half of a diced Vidalia onion, a can of cream of mushroom or chicken soup, it says you can add. And that's the 10.5 ounce size. 1 cup mayonnaise, 1 egg. And then we're going to add in 8 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese. And I'm using the mild because that's what I like. And this is the kind of softer, melty kind of cheese. So we're going to use this. And I'm just going to pour some in here. Now, we did put cheese in ours, but like I say, we never measured anything back in those days. You just did it. You watched, you observed, you paid attention, you learned, and then you did it yourself. Okay, I'm going to put a little more cheese in there, I think. And then you're going to put this in your, pour it over your squash. Now, the other reason I'm doing trying these squash casseroles is because there's a little restaurant down the road from us. And it's that Meat and Three that I've talked about before. And on certain days, they have squash casserole as one of their side choices. And Matt loves it. Sometimes he'll get his Meat and Three or Meat and Two, and it would be both of the sides would be a squash casserole. Now, I don't know how they make theirs, but maybe I can find one close that Matt likes just as much. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. Okay, so we've got our squash here. And you're supposed to pour this over your squash. Try to get it all out. All right, and then we're just gonna try to mix this around. So again, if you miss the ingredients, it's 3 pounds yellow squash, half a cup of diced Vidalia onion, a can of cream of mushroom, a cup of mayonnaise, 1 egg, 8 ounces of cheddar cheese, and a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And then we're going to make a little topping for it here in a minute. So let me get this all mixed together. I was kind of waiting to see what size pan I needed, what size dish. So I think I'm going to need one of my 9x13s. But let me mix this together, get my dish out, and we'll be right back, and we'll make that topping and finish this up. All right, here is our casserole. I ended up putting it in my 9x13. So now we're going to make a topping. So this calls for 2 sleeves of Ritz crackers. I didn't want to buy Ritz crackers because I already have saltines in the pantry, and that's what we always used when we made our squash casserole, was we used saltines. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I've already crushed up 1 sleeve here. Now I like some of it to be kind of, bigger pieces, but you crush it up however you want to do it. It says in the recipe to do it in the sleeves. You can do that, but sometimes the sleeves will bust on me, so I'm gonna just do it here, just to keep from making a bigger mess. Now you could put it in this bag and you could get a rolling pin and do all that, but I'm just gonna kind of start it out and crush them down. I kind of leave a little opening at the top so that the air can escape and I don't bust my bag. I'll move that over just a bit. And then I'll just kind of pick it up and start kind of squishing it around. And this will be something if you have small kids that they can help you. They might enjoy this. Get them in the kitchen cooking a little bit, doing the fun stuff. Okay, so here I've got, like I say, I like some of it to be kind of larger pieces, and then you've got some of the really small crumbs on the bottom. So I'm good with that. So I'm going to add this sleeve to this other. And then I melted 1 stick of butter here. And I'm going to pour that over our crumbs. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of mix that around. Make sure I kind of get that butter mixed in really well. And it does say you bake for 45 minutes, and I think you cover it 30 minutes. Let's see, at 350. Bake at 350 until bubbly and brown on top, usually 45 to 50 minutes. Bake for 30 minutes covered with foil to help prevent crackers from burning. So oh, I hear Callie. So let me try to clarify these directions. Bake at 350 until bubbly and brown on top, usually 45 to 50 minutes. Bake for 30 minutes covered with foil to help prevent crackers from burning. Then uncover and bake an additional 20 minutes until golden brown. So I guess bake at 30 covered, 20 uncovered. I had to read that again. All right. Now we're just gonna pour this. Let me make sure I've got everything in the shot here so y'all can see. We need to move this back over. And turn y'all that way. Okay. So I got a feeling this is going to be pretty good. Move this around. Let me spread this. All right. So, here is our squash casserole. Here's the side of it. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. I'm anxious to try it. Totally different method than what I'm used to doing with squash casserole, because like I said, we boiled it on the stove, drained it, added cheese, and I think we put some saltines into the casserole, and then we put some saltines on top with butter. So, but I mean, it's got to be good. It's squash. And what we're going to have with it, so this morning I put a pork roast in the crock pot. It's over here smelling just yummy. And so we're going to have that, and we're going to have our squash casserole. And then I showed y'all that I have bought some of the Bridgeford yeast rolls, and so I took some out this morning. I know it looks like a lot of food, but I'm planning to get to Mama's in a day or so, so I'm going to take some leftovers to her. Plenty of this, and there's plenty of pork roast, and then always, Mama loves yeast rolls. So we will bake those up, and I'm not sure if I'll do a green vegetable or not. We will see. But anyway, that is it. This is Slap Your Mama's It's So Delicious Southern Squash Casserole. And the lady that posted it on Pinterest, we're going to try it out. So thank y'all so much for watching. If I didn't mention, it's 350 degrees is what you bake it at. So I will show y'all later what everything looks like. And keep your fingers crossed that Matt likes it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. All right, it's time to cover our casserole. I'm going to put it in here for 30 minutes covered at 350. Then I'm going to take the foil off and cook it for another 20 minutes. Okay, there's the finished squash casserole. And there are some yummy yeast rolls. Okay, so here is the Slap Your Mama Southern Squash Casserole. All that cheese and onion. Looks pretty good. Well, that's going to be our supper tonight.